Good morning, everyone. As you know, it's the start of Lent, and we are all charged with holding a stone in our hands. Now, it's a terrible thing to be rejected, to be told either in word, attitude, or action that we're unacceptable or unworthy or even unnecessary. It's a terrible thing. Now, I wonder if that's happened to any one of you. Now, I have discovered that rejection can propel us into one of two directions. It can either cause us resilience with a determination to succeed, or it can make us bitter, resentful, and maybe even jaded. Rejection can transform us into caring, sensitive, and compassionate human beings, or it can leave us cold, judgmental, and angry. I'd like to relate a story. During one fine morning in 1990, when this lady was on a train ride from Manchester to London, she formed the entire story in her head from an idea and started developing her lead character. Unfortunately, her mom had died later that year, which halted her writing progress for a period of time. Her life changed when in 1992 she moved to Portugal to teach English as a foreign language. There she met a man, she married him and had a daughter. A year later, sadly, she parted ways with her then husband and filed for a divorce in 1993. This was the turning point in her life, however, when she, along with her infant daughter, moved to Edinburgh, in Scotland, to be near her sister with 3 chapters of this particular book in her suitcase. It was the most devastating period of her life, where she was divorced, she was jobless, and a single mother of an infant. She suffered severe bouts of depression, but she persevered. When life was dark and gloomy, she found the light at the end of the tunnel, always pushing through the trials and tribulations that life would throw at her. 1995 was the year that defined her life in so many ways. Now, not 1 or 2, not even 5, but around 12 different publications rejected her manuscript. She was shattered, but not defeated. She kept approaching other publications, and her efforts eventually bore fruit. A small publishing house accepted to publish the book, and only 1,000 copies were printed. Soon after, things changed when the book won prestigious awards such as the Nestlé Smarties Book Prize and the British Book Award for Children's Book of the Year. As of 2020, the book has sold more than 500 million copies worldwide and been translated into 80 different languages. Not to mention, the book was adapted to a movie series, making it a franchise of $1 billion business. The biggest lesson one can learn from this woman is to keep on trying, believing, and acting on your dream. Would you like to guess who that person is? It's J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. Now, there are other numerous stories of rejected authors and manuscripts. The Diary of Anne Frank, probably one of the classics, was rejected 15 times and deemed very dull by one publisher. So we don't have to feel too bad, because rejection can happen to everyone. But if we are unable to cope with this fact of life, you will end up in deep trouble. Do not lose your strength and will, because even the greatest story of rejection became the foundation of our Christian faith. Jesus himself was rejected. As we read in Psalm 118, verse 22, the stone the builders rejected has become the capstone. And this prophecy was fulfilled by Luke when he said in Acts that Jesus was that very capstone rejected by the Jews. Let me elaborate on the significance of this capstone or cornerstone. It's not simply a decorative stone used to finish off the corners of a building. Rather, it's a fundamental stone that structurally holds together an entire building. Now, if you can visualize a Roman archway, it's built from 2 columns that join together. Now, the place where these 2 columns meet, there's generally a little triangular stone. Now, this is called the capstone. And if you remove that stone, the whole structure would collapse. Make no mistake, Jesus is that capstone for all who follow him. even though he faced constant rejection. The German theologian Johann David Michaelis taught this passage from the Psalms about the rejected cornerstone. He taught about a specific event that reportedly took place during the time of Solomon's temple when it was being built. This massive temple was built in relative silence, not because it was daytime or nighttime, but there were no pounding hammers. And the reason for this was because the plans were so exact that each stone fit perfectly and were cut perfectly in the quarry before being delivered. When the stones arrived at the building site, each one slotted exactly where it was supposed to. However, there was one huge stone that just didn't fit anywhere, and the builders pushed it to one side. Eventually it got in the way, and the workmen pushed it over the bank, and it rolled down into the Kidron Valley below. After the foundation had been laid, the time had come for them to raise the cornerstone into place. But the cornerstone could not be found. A message was sent to the quarry, but the masons replied that it had already been delivered. Finally, they realized that it had been the stone that had been rejected and rolled down into the valley. When it was retrieved, it moved smoothly into place, serving as the stone that held all the others in position. Jesus was rejected by the religious leaders of the day, but he was the foundation upon which people could build their lives. These were the people chosen by God, but rejected by the world. They were supposed to be the cornerstones. They were supposed to be the moral and ethical and religious compass of humanity, but somehow they got compromised on the way. But now Jesus becomes that cornerstone. He becomes the most important stone in the church. He sets the moral standards, and he is the foundation on which the kingdom of God rests. And he was rejected by the very people who were supposed to receive him. Now, it is believed that it was St. Augustine who created a thing called the pyramid of priorities, and each one of us has one. This is how it works. We list the 6 most important things in our lives. They may be family, money, reputation, job, God, and health. But when you're asked to take 2 away, what would you have left? Perhaps family, job, God, and health. Now eliminate 2 more. You see this dilemma, don't you? Augustine says that when we get down to that one final thing, the thing you say is the most important, that becomes the God of your life. That becomes your cornerstone. I think we're faced with these choices on a daily basis, but we have become so accustomed to rationalizing our behavior that we don't see it as rejecting Jesus. As humans, we don't know what tomorrow is going to hold. Either it's our job or our family life or friends. There are many different experiences of rejection that we will face. But the main question is, where is your cornerstone? Where is your foundation? During a period of rejection, as people, we try to hold on to something to support us, something to stabilize ourselves. But you must be careful on what you depend. Do not depend on and create a foundation on people in this world. Let Jesus be your cornerstone or your capstone. For the world rejected him, and at times the world will reject us too. But when God is in your life, you will have a firm spiritual foundation. Do not worry and stand firm in the Lord. As I mentioned at the start, you hold a stone. I've got my stone. It's an important stone, perhaps the most important of all stones, because it is symbolic of Jesus as the cornerstone of our lives. Maybe you don't need to lay the stone at the foot of the cross today as an indication of the times when you have rejected Jesus. Maybe you will keep that stone, you'll take it home with you, because in your honest introspection, you believe that you have not rejected Jesus in your daily living. Then please, keep the stone. But I know what I must do.